Yes, that is a really, really good question. As a matter of fact, I might ask this of some of my professor friends
Please do. Let
because
me know.
no, I love that question, and I will guarantee you that there are absolutely people trying to figure that out.
If you're watching this right now and you haven't hit the like button, Billy, get on it. Bug your brother. Tell him to do the same.
All right, next one comes in from Johnny Eaton. Says, do you think the sticky tack controversy is over or has just gradually been ignored more and more by the umps, or has been replaced with some other methodology to bend the rules? I ask because some pitchers had a drop in spin rate when the crackdown happened, but magically now it seems to be back.
Yeah, great question. I think it's mostly done with, you're going to see occasional things flare up, like the Domingo Herman thing, which I don't think was much of anything, to be honest. What pitchers have done to adjust, totally right. Originally spin rates went down a ton when they started implementing this, but then pitchers started using more rock rosin tied to just sweat. So when you do it rosin first, it's powdery and doesn't do much. But if you have some sweat, and you'll see a lot of pitchers go to their hair, they're not grabbing anything other than the sweatiest part on their body that they can find, and trying to make the rosin more tacky. And with that, they're getting a grip. I think it'll eventually all go away when we move to a tackier baseball so that pitchers can get a grip on the ball.
Is that the plan?
It is a plan. They're testing it.
Good.
And I think they're testing the minor leagues right now. So that's the answer. Like, we shouldn't be throwing cue balls because it's not good for hitters. It's not good for pitchers. You have to have more grip strength on the ball. So it's kind of likely you might hurt yourself if you're not used to it. I know Glasnow blamed his arm issues on that, and he's not necessarily wrong. So that's hopefully where we end up. And I think that is where we end up, is with a tackier baseball, so that everybody's on a level playing field, that we're not using this super glue and stuff like that, which is unfair. Let's make it all even and then, compete.
Out of curiosity, have you noticed, is it tougher for pitchers just starting the game before they get sweaty?
Usually they do something, like they figured it out. It would be. Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
You're right. But it would be.
Eat
And
some
especially on
spicy
colder
food.
days. You're right. So on colder days, you would, or like, you put icy hot or something to make you sweat would be a useful thing. It's not because it does anything to baseball. It's because you're sweating. But yeah, like, it's the reason why in early games you'll see less control. Try throwing a baseball with no sweat on your hands, and it's like a cue ball. It's really tough. So you do have to do something to generate something to activate it. That's why in the olden days they used pine tar. Like Nolan Ryan would say that, yeah, we use pine tar to help our curveball, and so did pretty much everybody. It just was accepted because they needed it for a grip. They didn't know anything about spin rates. They weren't doing it to make their pitches nasty. They were doing it so they didn't throw the ball over the backstop.
Well, that kind of leads into our last question here, although you kind of touched on it. But Andrew McLeod wants to know what your thoughts are on substances pitchers should be allowed to use. And you mentioned just a pre-tacked ball.
Yeah.
So my follow-up to that then is, how far away are we from having Major League Baseball just figure out baseballs? Because it's been such a gong show for the last few years.
Totally. And I think some of it is inadvertent. Some of it is because, like, if you bought 2 leather couches, they're not going to be stitched exactly the same because there's humans doing this stuff. Like, it's going to be, one's going to be good, one's going to be bad. That's why you see pitchers throw out baseballs. Some seams might be janky. Now, there were batches of baseballs that were clearly different. And I would love to see that be standardized. There's no reason, now that we know this, before it probably happened over the years 1,000,000 times and we never could measure it. Mm-hmm. Now we can measure it, and everybody, when you see all the stuff go out of line, you're seeing stats like this, and then all of a sudden it takes a jump, and it's because of the baseball. You can't fool anybody anymore. Before you could, when you didn't have these stats. So I think it's been going on for a while. It would be great if we could standardize it. Obviously, I think MLB would rather do that, because now with them if you're embracing betting on sports and other stuff, and the integrity of records and all stuff, you can't have things that can be manipulated. Just make the baseball standard, and just for the season,